Good morning. Good morning.
Morning.
Hi. So, can you all do me a favor? Close your eyes. Think of the names of 5 of your closest loved ones and friends. Now, think of your last duty assignment. Open your eyes. Can anyone give me their definition of discipline in 3 words? Okay, 2 words. What does discipline mean to you? Yes. Structure? Yeah.
Accountability.
Accountability. Commitment. That's good. Focus. That's awesome. Yes. One more word. Duty. That's great. So I'd like to recite for you Schofield's definition of discipline. The discipline that makes soldiers of a free country reliable in battle is not to be gained by harsh or tyrannical treatment. On the contrary, such treatment is far more likely to destroy than to make an army. It is possible to impart instruction and to give commands in such a manner, in such a tone of voice, to inspire in the soldier no feeling but an intense desire to obey, while the opposite manner and opposite tone of voice cannot fail to excite strong resentment and desire to disobey. The one mode or the other of dealing with the other with subordinates springs from the corresponding spirit in the breast of the commander. He who feels the respect which is due to others cannot fail to inspire in them regard for himself, while he who feels and hence manifests disrespect towards others, especially his inferiors, cannot fail to inspire hatred against himself. This speech was given by Major General John M. Schofield, addressed to the Corps of Cadets, United States Military Academy, August 11, 1879. I'm guessing nobody was here for that. As a new cadet at the United States Military Academy at West Point, I had to learn to recite this past statement verbatim during our cadet basic training. So understanding the key principles of discipline helped shape the woman that I am today. So I'd like to take you along on my story to hear about the challenges I've had and how a disciplined lifestyle with disciplined leaders helped me to succeed. In 2006, I completed my first year at West Point, marching with my hands cupped and my uniform crisp and straight. In 2007, I was the first African American woman cadet to jump in the sports parachute team, where I learned how to pack a parachute and glide through the sky every day. In 2008, I was one of the first female cadets to play in the intramural football team, wearing big heavy pads and running on the field to score a touchdown. In 2009, I was one of the first cadets to compete in the preliminary to Miss New Jersey pageant, donning my point shoes as I tiptoed across the stage. Then boom! Later that year, I was on my way back from the mall and T-boned by an SUV. Jaws of life cut me out of my brand new car. I was medevaced to the hospital. I was given less than 12 hours to live. I was in a coma for 2 weeks and spent many more weeks in ICU. There were expectations that I would spend many more months, if not years, in intensive recovery. Doctors proclaimed that I'll never go back to school, let alone in my wildest dreams return to West Point. They suggested that I needed to be put in a rehabilitation home and spend more time in intensive recovery. Almost every part of my body was injured, suffering from, I had a collapsed lung, leaking spinal fluid, right eye completely blown out, severe traumatic brain injury. I was a total wreck. And I remember none of it. I recall none of these moments that I just told you about. And I am not alone. According to the CDC, the United States has the highest brain injury rate of all developed countries. Every year, 2.8 million Americans are survivors from brain injury, with less than half making a positive recovery. An ideal recovery is a survivor living independently on their own. But ideal happens less than 35% of the time. Now, so when I asked you name the 5 names of your closest friends and family, can you name them in the same order you first thought of them? It's difficult, isn't it? Well, my long-term memory is gone, and my short-term memory is like dry bones. Everything, this discussion, all these beautiful people I'm meeting today, in 6 months' time, I won't remember you. And no offense, it just doesn't happen. More than memory, survivors of brain injuries may face challenges ranging from a few days to the remainder of their lives. Symptoms can occur, but they're not limited to headaches, memory loss, slower thinking, coordination, hearing or vision, and emotions. Recuperation rates vary from one brain injury survivor to the next. Those who may recover experience long-term mental and physical health problems resulting in partial or permanent disabilities. This can create difficulties in their careers and relationships with family and friends. Identifying somebody with TBI can be difficult because unless you intimately know a person, it's hard to see how they function, act, or react to different stimuli. See, I often get, you look fine, you talk fine, how can you be disabled? However, this invisible handicap can destroy a person without a support system. It is critical for a person going through a trauma to have the encouragement and receive help. Leadership, strong, inspirational leadership can help with this support. In the United States, the injury I sustained leaves an estimated 155 people dead every day and disables 6 times more people each year than spinal cord injuries, muscular sclerosis, HIV, AIDS, and breast cancer combined. My disability is visible only now that you know my story. However, millions of Americans, their handicaps are apparent. So here's a story of one veteran leader who got a flat tire on the way to his doctor's appointment. On a cold, blistering day, he was stuck on the side of the road, unable to fully remove the bolts from his tire. A Good Samaritan, another veteran, pulled up and helped him fix his tire. The veteran who helped him had an amputated leg. He proved that he was still useful and had desired skills. His lost leg didn't stop him from fulfilling his daily assignments. His discipline as a service member and an intense desire to obey the call of duty helped him to stop and help. Does anyone know who the story's about? Give it a try. Okay, so former Secretary of State Colin Powell. See, he was on his way to Walter Reed when he blew out his tire. When a veteran who helped him was later interviewed, he said he told the secretary, "You can't wait around for a 2-legged man, you got a 1-legged guy." So with humor and grit, the veteran persevered. Colin Powell once said, "Always focus on the front windshield and not the rearview mirror." With that, it is important to look ahead with hope, fierceness, courage, and inspiration. Despite what doctors predicted, I returned to West Point and graduated. Quite an accomplishment, but not without the family support that I had. Also, the military support system is like no other. So, rewind my story to the day I decided to come back to West Point. I was on a cane, less than 100 pounds, laceration across my face and chest, enduring 13 plastic surgeries. I needed to keep going. Maybe it was a soldier in me, but I brazenly made an appointment to speak with the dean, then General Finnegan. So I skipped all the chain of command and went to his aide and scheduled an appointment. We'll blame my brain injury on that one. When I made the appointment, I mustered up all the courage I had and walked into his office. After we sat, I began to tell him how much I wanted to be back at the academy. When he finished, he pointed to 2 folders on his desk. And there were notes from 2 meetings he had with all the senior level course directors on my behalf. Let's rewind a little bit more. Before my accident, I worked the hardest I ever did at the academy. I was grinding in so hard. And this is where I say your legacy precedes you. Because even when I was on my deathbed, my instructors believed that I would come back and work for it. General Finnegan believed in me. Those colonels, lieutenant colonels, majors who were my professors knew that I had a fighting chance and believed in me. The discipline instilled in me from basic training our day helped them to believe that I could make it. When I returned to the academy, life wasn't made easier for me, and I still had to fulfill all the cadet requirements. But what was different was the encouragement and the endless support I received. Now, not to say I received special attention, but when I had a down day, people showed concern. People were there for me when I needed them, or even when I thought I didn't. People, leaders, came through. Leadership that was not harsh or tyrannical to destroy, but leadership that was delivered in such a manner, in such a tone of voice, left nothing else but to inspire. President Barack Obama once said, "People with disabilities deserve the chance to build a life for themselves in the community in which they choose to live." I chose to come back to my military community where I was embraced, challenged, comforted, and persevered. Living with this disability means living a slightly different path than most. But you cannot overlook the beauty, abilities, and uniqueness that a person has. A disabled person is aware of limitations. It's important to make the most out of one's best, because limitations can only go so far. Focus on skills that are still present, not ones that are lacking or missing. Let's give into the now. See, sometimes 2 + 2 doesn't always equal 4. You have to break it down to 1 + 1 + 1 + 1, and that's okay, because the desired outcome is still there. When I returned to West Point after my graduation, I continued to try hard in every class and became every day prepared to speak about the subject. I mean, it helped that I feverishly read through the notes right before each class to ensure that I did, and I did it. During class discussions, I was good and I nailed it. However, when it came down to tests, I failed. Just after failing the second quiz, my instructor took me aside and we talked. You see, after my brain injury, one of my biggest problems, and still is translating what I'm thinking from my mind to paper. In brain terms, those synaptic connections were missing for me. See, I can speak about a subject all the time, but when it comes to organizing my thoughts and present them in order on paper, it becomes difficult to do. That, coupled with my dyslexia, adds so much confusion to the mix. But what Colonel Taylor did was sit with me and figured it out. After trial and much error, we sorted through the best way to answer the questions, which was not in full sentences, but bullet points. And I stand here today giving a 30-minute speech with my thoughts put to paper. My strength is providing information. See, it may not be in order, but the info is there. So when 2 + 2 doesn't equal 4, 1 + 1 + 1 + 1, I think I got it all right, equals 4. And there's no excuse given to the disabled person, whereas we have to learn to manage our everyday situations. However, it makes significant difference when another person seeks first to understand and then react. As leaders, we have the opportunity to guide and nurture our future leaders into strong people of character. What Colonel Taylor did for me that day changed my life. There are days when I would war with myself by dismissing my disability and felt that it was not okay to be different. However, senior leadership came through and believed in me, my spirit, and listened. They allowed me to come back and fight just as hard, if not harder, than I did before. There are times where I still war with feelings of inadequacy. Nonetheless, I'm grateful to leaders in the workforce that stand beside me. Most recently, from my past job, I had a report that needed to be completed. When the deadline was way past overdue, dun dun dun, I was finally called to the boss's office, the big boss's office, to ask why I uncharacteristically neglected my work. I confessed. Writing confuses me. She was shocked and questioned why I didn't speak up in the first place. There were resources available to help me. I then worked with the communications team to help me write the report, future speeches, and even revise important emails. My leader didn't make me feel less than myself or inferior. Instead, with inspiration and respect, she guided me and reassured me that I could still accomplish my goals no matter how different the route. Because sometimes it takes 1 + 1 + 2 to equal 4. In the military, brain injury is prevalent in the ranks. Traumatic brain injury has 3 levels: mild, moderate, and severe. Approximately 414,000 active duty service members were diagnosed with TBI from 2000 to 2019. Veteran Disability claims that 35% of all veterans have TBI, which makes 1 out of every 3 veterans have survived some sort of brain injury. What can we do to help and sustain our service members in the military? There are many ways to figure out this problem. So why should we pigeonhole the entire situation? Why is the medical evaluation board the only choice? I ask, how does the Army, and I stand here as one of the few soldiers in the room, define mission capable? What if we redefine mission capable? The Army learning model has 9 key components, and those are highly technological: collaborative, differentiated, holistic, blended approach, problem-centered, continuous adaptive learning, valid, reliable assessments, and learner-centric. It's important for an inspirational leader to acknowledge, understand, and use these tools when dealing with employees or soldiers or airmen or people they generally encounter. Although specific, these concepts can be adapted and make leaders more competent to help people with new limitations fight the fight. What if we can train those with more severe injuries to be part of maybe an HRC program or implement roles such as general's aides or recruiting or retention? Using the Army leadership model, we can help add up 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 to equal 4 in so many different ways. Maybe a thought is, why don't we just add another pillar of learning to diversify our thinking? Because someone with brain injury can still learn, but adapt to learn and absorb knowledge in an alternate fashion. I've proven that. We can use concepts from the Army leadership model to retain people with disabilities, injuries, and new limitations. The Army leadership model purpose is to train, develop adaptive thinking soldiers and leaders capable of meeting challenges of operational adaptability in an era of persistent conflict. Whereas, when is becoming adaptable to a person's medical status can we become important as well? In 10 years, only 414,000 active duty service members came forward with brain injury. What if that number was bigger? What if that number reflected the 35% of all veterans with brain injuries? Perhaps leaders of character who feel respect which is due to others and cannot fail to inspire in them regard for oneself can show more empathy, which would then help the injured come forward. By allowing a safe space where people can present oneself without fear of getting dismissed would greatly help in recovery and the possibility in help to live a sustainable, healthy lifestyle. Yes, leaders may do an excellent job in supporting and providing guidance, but sometimes it may take comforting from being around peers who are going through the same struggles they face. Saying this, I belong to 2 different brain injury support groups, 1 civilian, 1 military. What's common between both groups is that we discuss our issues, doctors, therapies we should be going to, can go to, what should we do, what's going on. However, what's different between the groups is that we as veterans have the opportunity to attend necessary therapies, whereas my civilian my civilian disabled groups, they grapple with insurance companies not paying for what they need. As an individual who's 13 years post-accident and still attends speech therapy once a week, to me, this is unsettling. Could this change? How can I do something about this? Understanding all of this, what can I do to help my brain injury community? How can I use my discipline as an inspirational leader to find a new way to receive therapeutic treatment? Well, I love the arts. However, I can't paint or draw. I cannot dance. And you don't want to hear my vocal cords. But I love taking pictures. So I created TB Incredible because every TBI survivor is incredible. TB Incredible is a nonprofit that provides therapeutic photography to brain injury survivors. I wanted to create a safe space where people can recover from a brain injury without the pressure of payment or expected recovery time. The program was created to provide survivors with an outlet to help nourish healing, development, and self-acceptance. Again, provide service and help those who need service by leading with respect. Therapeutic photography helps by dealing with memory issues and is a program that sets to provide another way to relieve anxieties, take away from stresses, and help with depression. Because every day is not always a good day. However, let's capture a picture. Let's pause this moment of time and relive the second that can wedge open a gap of feelings corresponding to this instant. Let's save this moment right now. So what I want to do is take this picture of this moment of everybody in the crowd right now. This works. This will work. Because in 6 months' time, like I said, I won't remember you. But this helps. And this is what TB Incredible does. Helps to restore memory, bring you back to that moment, save that moment. Let's keep learning about our surroundings and reorganize our synaptic connections. In brain terms, let's find ways to rebuild our neuroplasticity. I found a way to help rewire our brains to think better, process more, and thrive. Through TB Incredible, I also found a way to create a positive program outside of service. However, what if there are programs like this while in service? What if people with disabilities were able to perform at their best capabilities? HRC jobs, recruiting jobs, general's aid, there are many possibilities without limitations. What if we listened, cared, and created more chances to stay in the military rather than to leave? Those who may want to serve and still have strengths to provide can benefit the military. What if we redefine service member mission capable? Small weaknesses do not define the service member. With respect, it's the responsibility of leadership to reshape and mold a service member by first understanding and utilizing their new capabilities. What if we nourished those strengths and helped each other grow into better people and future leaders? My disability does not negatively define me as a leader. What if I was allowed to stay in and serve the country? I'm able to serve others through TB Incredible, but I wish I was able to serve my country in the military capacity. I understand laws and regulations govern the military. However, I'd like to advocate for change to allow service members with new limitations the chance to continue to serve the country. I know this won't benefit me, but maybe the next group of service members that come along and have the desire to stay in the military, we might find a place for them. Like Colonel Taylor, we work to figure it out. You can't say disabilities limit a person, because I'm here. Inspirational leaders build the trust of their service members, and in turn, their service members trust their leaders. It goes both ways. Schofield's definition of discipline helped structure who I am today and continues to guide me through some of my most difficult parts of my life. Learning how to be an inspirational leader, an inspirational person with the grit not to give up or give in, allows me to persevere. So, my advice to you leaders is to use this definition of discipline with your units and help them grow into people more encouraged and motivated to obey the mission, just like the one-legged veteran, and get it accomplished with or without you present. 3 words I describe discipline are order, duty, and respect. Thank you for your time, and I hope you remember this, like I will.
That was one of the best speeches I've ever heard. That was really awesome. There were so many facets to it that you can take away from, number one, leadership, empathy. I really had no clue, not much of a clue about traumatic brain injury, did not. Perseverance, hard work. I don't even know where to begin with that. I do know when you began with Schofield's quote, you guys up here probably saw me getting a cold sweat because basic cadet Eisenhower had to memorize that. Unfortunately, I went to the better academy, but still. Hey now. But that was truly inspiring. It really was. And when Sergeant Davis described, said how much she was moved, I was just as moved as well. That's had so many and so many different aspects of what you can take away from that. Including what photography brings to folks. Because I know we have some photographers out here. Where's Marcellus? In the audience. There we go. Out there too, and it was really inspiring. How to be good leaders. Because what do we all say? We're all leaders here, right? And that was a perfect way to describe it, and what you took from it. Your hard work, your perseverance, how you're still giving back to the community is truly inspirational. So give her a hand.